Join us today as we discuss issues important to your life and faith. Spiritual insight, compelling discussion, practical wisdom. Women of Grace for such a time as this. Now, here's Elena Rodriguez in for Johnnette Benkovic.
You're listening to EWTN Radio's Women of Grace this hour, welcoming you with a big and warm embrace, as we always do. This is Elena Rodriguez sitting in for Johnnette Benkovic. Johnnette is traveling today internationally. She is safe and managed to keep safe overnight in spite of the approaching tropical storm Hermine that is approaching her area of Florida. And so she asks for your prayers for her safe travels on a Women of Grace speaking mission to Trinidad. And I'm sure that she will have a lot to report on that when she comes back to the show. So we keep her in prayers. We also ask your prayers for protection for her property and her family, most importantly, in the area as well. Today we have one of those special shows that we offer you, where we have our dear sister in Christ, Sue Brinkman, who is our staff journalist and our staff researcher at womenofgrace.com, to report on the news of the week. And in doing so, we want to open up our lines. Our call screener, Matt Gabinski, is ready to take your phone calls. We're going to give you that phone number in a moment so that you can call in with your questions, comments, and concerns regarding the news stories that Sue Brinkman is about to share with us. And also, you know, her areas of expertise are discerning, learning to discern about the new age, about Reiki, about the occult, and those questions that may come up. If you know somebody who might be engaging in some of these activities, you want to give them a warning and with fraternal love and correction, but you want some information to be able to present before these people lovingly. Sue Brinkman is the person to call. We're going to be talking about today news stories that will affirm our faith, one of them being a very good example set by one of our church leaders here in the United States and a firm stance on moral issues. So we have a lot of good stories to share with you. We want to invite you to call in. Our phone numbers are 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396. If you're outside the United States and Canada, we have an international line for you as well. And that number is country code 1-205-271-2985. Again, our international number is country code 1, then 205-271-2985. Sue Brinkman, welcome to Women of Grace. A delight to have you back here on radio.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you so much for all your good research. I know that one of the stories that you have on your womenofgrace.com breaking news blog that caught my eye is one that is titled Archbishop Stands Firm on Lesbian Firing.
Oh, this is a great story. Archbishop John J. Myers of the Archdiocese of Newark, very courageous bishop. Say a prayer for him. He's in a battle over one of the schools in his diocese, Paramus Catholic High School, that fired an employee who was discovered to be in a same-sex marriage. And, of course, they went to the press. The woman and her partner went to the press after the firing, and that started this big media firestorm, and it incited the students and the parents and all that to come against the school and say they demand that she be rehired, blah, blah, blah. And he has stood firm. He issued a letter yesterday saying that, you know, when someone involved in Catholic education ministry offers a public counter-witness to Catholic teaching, he or she does not teach the truth or further the mission of the church, is what he said in his letter, and, you know, reminding people that this woman signed a contract agreeing to abide by the tenets of the Catholic Church, which is why she was terminated. Mm-hmm. So, but I like the way he was very succinct in saying, okay, this is why we do these things. He said, you know, when you have somebody in the school who's in a same-sex marriage, and this is totally against the teaching of the Catholic Church, he said such actions can create confusion and uncertainty in the moral formation of the young people that he or she will encounter. And when that happens, the church has to be free to take corrective steps to maintain its identity and the integrity of its mission. And he points out correctly this right is protected by the United States Constitution as well as federal and state law. Now, this woman is claiming that she was discriminated against and that this action by the school violated the state's anti-discrimination laws. But the lawyers are saying, no, that's not true. She signed this document. She said that she was going to uphold the teachings of the church. It's a contract. And the churches are permitted to do that, to preserve their teaching in their employment habits. So, but he also goes on, he says, many have equated mistakenly that the church's position of welcoming sinners, for we are all sinners, with the notion that we accept teaching and lifestyles contrary to the principles of our faith that can create scandal in our church. For decades, I have taught and written that the church welcomes everyone and invites everyone to participate in the life of the church to the degree that they honestly can. I'm sorry about the train. I'm shutting my window right now.
Not a problem.
Sorry about that. To the degree that they honestly can, while sincerely respecting the teachings of the church. The invitation to join in the life of the church does not include an invitation to alter or redefine what the church believes and teaches, nor is it an invitation to allow others to define the identity, mission, and message of the church. Very well said, Archbishop. And he goes on to conclude, he says, even Jesus recognized that some people could not or would not accept his teaching. He was saddened when they walked away from him, but he never altered his teaching, nor shall we do so today.
So His Excellency Archbishop John J. Myers is giving us an example here of how we can have a firm stance on explaining why one thing or another is convenient or inconvenient to the to the survival of human society. Put aside the debate versus this is what I believe because I believe in God versus I don't believe in God and so I can't believe what you believe. But putting that aside, he's giving us an example of how to reach out lovingly and tenderly but still firmly. It's finding that very difficult to find but that sweet spot, that balance on how to speak with fraternal love and at the same time that firmness. I think that's remarkable.
Very remarkable. And, defining that sweet spot, that's very difficult to do. It's very, very difficult. You really need enlightenment by the Holy Spirit. And that's why we've got to respect the clerics and the bishops and our priests. You got to respect them and respect that they are under the influence of the Holy Spirit and when they guide us. Because it's just so difficult to find that spot and to know exactly how to speak to people in a way that isn't going to alienate them or put them off.
Exactly. If you're listening to Women of Grace right now and you have a situation where you want to speak to somebody to make them realize that there is a better way to proceed, but you're afraid you might put them off, call in with your question for Sue Brinkman. She has years of extensive research and experience in talking to people with very different mindsets in a respectful dialogue and debate. You can be part of our show, 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396. And we also welcome our international listeners. We have a line for you. That's country code 1, then 205-271-2985. That international line, again, is country code 1, then 205-271-2985. And dear Sue Brinkman, it is September 1st and a very special month. And we know that this month is dedicated to Mother Teresa. We're expecting the canonization to happen on Sunday in the Vatican. And there are a lot of other news stories that are coming out in relationship with Mother Teresa and with the Sisters of Charity, one of which concerns me greatly that you have here on your breaking news blog on womenofgrace.com. Sisters of Charity attacked and the Eucharist was desecrated.
Oh, yes. This is it's a very sad incident that happened in Argentina, and it just happened on the 25th of August. The sisters were in their home. It was about 7:30 in the evening, and 3 men reportedly broke into the house, beat the sisters, gagged them so that they couldn't call for help, and then they ransacked the house. Now, listen to this. This is the cash that they managed to get in the house. 50 pesos. which is the equivalent of $3.30. That's all they got. They also ran into the chapel in search of valuables. They tore open the tabernacle. They emptied the ciborium of consecrated hosts with the intent to steal the vessel. But when they realized it wasn't gold, they just left it behind. So, this community has been serving the people in the city of Mar del Plata, and I'm probably saying that wrong, but...
No, you're right on target.
Oh, good, thank you. And that's in the province of Buenos Aires. For about 20 years now, they offer free care to terminally ill HIV/AIDS patients, and they carry out all kinds of humanitarian work in the region. You ask yourself, why? Why attack these sisters? And you got $3.30. I mean, how much do these dear sisters of the poor? That's one of their rules of life is to live in poverty. Why would you attack them? And then they go and they take the hosts and scatter them all over. And this is the second time now in the month of August that we've had a desecration of the Eucharist in Argentina. That happened also in a church earlier last month when unidentified men, this was on the Feast of the Assumption, they entered Our Lady of Mercy Parish in Santa Fe province in Argentina, and they desecrated and stole a bronze tabernacle that contains consecrated hosts. So they had to do, of course, an act of reparation in that church, which consisted of a Eucharistic Holy Hour and then a Mass of reparation. And Archbishop of Santa Fe said that these kind of incidents call us to increase our love for Jesus in the Eucharist, to strengthen our hearts, joined to Him, to strengthen our faith in the Lord, because these are times of persecution of the church. And he's absolutely right. We've seen yet another priest attacked on the altar, this time in Indonesia, by a suicide bomber who, thank the good Lord, his suicide vest didn't detonate, but he stormed the altar anyway during Mass, and he whipped this axe out of his backpack, and he swung it at the priest, hitting him in his hand. Thankfully, it was not a serious injury, but he was then, apprehended. His suicide vest, as I said, didn't explode, but it began to burn. So he had this burning thing on his back. I mean, this is madness. It's madness, and it's really, you're seeing more and more incidents of them really coming right into churches and just attacking priests and sisters in their convent. We had the two sisters murdered in Mississippi.
Yes.
And I've just read today that the man who murdered them, although they don't really have a motive yet, he lived across the street from them. So he must have known how peaceful and loving these women were.
Yes.
And yet he breaks into their house and stabs them to death. So a lot of crimes right now against the faithful. And our priests and our sisters out there really clearly identifying themselves as being servants of God, wearing their habits and their collars, and they're becoming like targets to extremists. And so we just need to pray for them. We need to pray for their protection everywhere in the world, and particularly for the protection of the Blessed Sacrament, that it will not be desecrated, and that the faithful will rally around their churches and see to it that the Blessed Sacrament is protected and He is loved and adored. What we do here in our parish, at every hour of the day and night, we have perpetual Eucharistic adoration here, where we have people always standing guard over that Blessed Sacrament, always praying in front of Him. And you know what's funny? There's never any incidents that occur in parishes that have perpetual adoration. Rarely, if ever.
That's an interesting statistic.
Yeah, that's from Father Victor Warkowitz, who is from the missionary priest of the Blessed Sacrament, who goes around to parishes and he helps to set up Eucharistic adoration. And I know so many, it's a question a lot of people have. Well, what about, the safety there of sitting there in front of the Blessed Sacrament at 2 in the morning? And he said, you know what, there's never been a single incident of anybody getting, killed in front of the Blessed Sacrament. So anyway, it's just a time we really need to intensify our prayer, because we are under attack. We're under attack on a lot of different fronts, and now it seems as though, gosh, people in churches are being attacked. Right in our convents and our priests during Mass. Well, of course, we all know about Father Hamel from France, whose throat was slit in early July.
Lord have mercy.
Or late July, rather, in a church in France. And, that one, I think, really opened a lot of people's eyes to the fact that, we really are becoming targets. They're really starting to go after us.
It's very real.
Yes, it is very real, and now it's happening in Europe. And I guess with the killings of the sisters, and then the attack on the sisters in Argentina, now these were not Islamic extremists who did it. These were just thieves. But still, they seem to be becoming a target. Christians are becoming a target everywhere, and we need to pray. Pray the Lord for protection for all of us, especially those living in areas where it is especially dangerous.
More vulnerable, and it gives us an additional prayer assignment and prayer intention for all of us to share. You're listening to Women of Grace here on EWTN Radio, 15 minutes past the hour, and we welcome your phone calls. Do you have a particular intention that you feel the Lord is calling you to pray and offer up? In light of the current situation, what you hear in the news, we share the news with you here, not to alarm anyone or scare anybody, just to be conscious of what is going on, but also to join in prayer, comfort, and encouragement of one another. That's one of the missions here at Women of Grace, and we want you to share your concerns with us. Sue Brinkman is our guest today, our staff researcher and journalist here at womenofgrace.com. And the number to call in, phone lines are open, 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396. In a moment, we will take Marianne's call and yours, 1-800-585-9396. You're listening to EWTN Radio. Stay tuned.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
You need strength. You need strength. And you have to pray for fortitude. That's what strength is, fortitude. The fourth gift of the Spirit, fortitude. Courage to stand up and be Christian. And stand up and be a real Catholic. Not a divided Catholic. Not one who lives by half-truths or preaches lies. Follow the church. Follow the magisterium. We have a holy pontiff. Follow him. You can't go wrong.
Hello, friends. If there was a program that could help your daughter, granddaughter, niece, or student to come to realize the gift of her femininity and the beautiful reality of who she is in the eyes of God, would you be interested in having her participate? Would you be interested in helping her and other young women to participate in it? I hope the answer is yes, because that program is now available for young women. Women of Grace is delighted to launch our newest Women of Grace study program, Young Women of Grace, Embrace Your Femininity. This beautiful study for girls ages 12 through 17 teaches young women what it means to be a daughter of God, to discern their purpose and mission in the world, and to find true fulfillment without losing their souls. Young Women of Grace presents vital Catholic teaching in a colorful magazine-style workbook that is packed with fun facts, testimonials, and stories of the saints and other Catholic role models. Transform the life of that special young woman and order a copy today. Visit womenofgrace.com or call 800-558-5452. That's womenofgrace.com.
Now is the time to make your plans for the 2016 EWTN Family Celebration, September 17th and 18th in Birmingham, Alabama. And best of all, it's free. For more information, go to EWTN.com/family celebration.
This is Bishop Paul Bradley of the Diocese of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Hi, this is Tim Staples from Catholic Answers Live.
This is Father John Ricardo. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
19 minutes past the hour here on EWTN Radio's Women of Grace. Our guest today is Sue Brinkman, who is our staff journalist and researcher here at womenofgrace.com. This is Elena Rodriguez sitting in for Johnnette Benkovic today, and we are taking a look at the news stories of the week on the breaking news blog that Sue Brinkman prepares on womenofgrace.com. And Sue, one of the stories that I see you have here refers to a big retailer, Target, who is desperate in face of slumping sales. What is causing the sales to drop for Target? Sue?
They adamantly deny that. They don't want anyone to think that maybe their poor decision there is bringing on this economic hardship that the store is suffering. But their traffic is down 2.2% in the second quarter, and that resulted in a 7.2% drop in sales. So what that means is that fewer people are coming into the stores. And we all know that that's true because 1.4 million people signed a boycott. And from what I read, these people that are participating in the boycott are adamant. They are not going back to Target until they get rid of that bathroom policy. Now, Target, just a few weeks ago, announced that they were going to invest $20 million in putting unisex bathrooms in all of their stores, or whatever stores don't right now have a unisex bathroom, so that customers could have more privacy if they want it. And the American Family Association, which is the organization that organized the boycott, says that move's not enough to protect women and girls from potential male predators because they're still permitted to use women's facilities. They can walk right into a restroom. In fact, there was a man on YouTube. He filmed this for us, and it's out on YouTube. And he walked into a Target store, and he obviously a man, wasn't dressed as a woman. He walked up to the manager of the store and said, I would like to be able to use the women's restroom here. Would that be okay? I identify as a woman. And the manager said, oh, yes, absolutely. Go right ahead. I mean, like he was inviting him to tea or something. I mean, he's telling him, go ahead. Go walk into the ladies' room. A man. I think this is madness. So this is why so many people are refusing to shop there. And commenters on the American Family Association's Facebook page, they're adamant. They are not going to get one penny of my business. I go out of my way to shop at either Walmart or Kmart now. Done with these social engineers disguised as businesses. I love that one. Another one said their prices because Target had launched this big 10% off everything in the store sale because they were trying to draw people into their store. And this one commenter said, well, prices don't sway me. Even if they sold everything for 2 cents, they'll never get my business. So people are adamant.
It's not about money.
It's not. It's about, we are and our belief systems, the whole Judeo-Christian Christian belief system is under attack. We are suffering in this country that polite persecution that Pope Francis talked about, and where we who stand for these kinds of good moral decisions and morality are being alienated and ostracized and treated as if we're almost criminals. We're violating the law, by, say, firing a lesbian teacher from a Catholic school. I mean, what is that all about? You can see where this is headed. So, but Target, as I can say, Target is suffering, and they're not in good shape sales-wise, and they haven't been since this was launched back in April, or since they announced it back in April that they were going to open up these bathrooms. Their sales have never been that great since that time, although they adamantly say, oh, no, it has nothing to do with that. Well, what does it have to do with then?
Find the cause then.
Yeah, big coincidence that it just happens to, correlate with the announcement of this policy, and all of a sudden your sales are tanking and your stock is down. So anyway, that's another big story that we were reporting on this week, that stick to it. We got to stick to our guns. We are the majority. We're not the minority here. We're the majority, and it's about time we act like it, and I think we are. And for some reason, this Target thing just caught on.
It's an issue of safety as well. As a woman, I don't want to go into the ladies' room and find a man there. If I had daughters, or if I had nieces, or I'm responsible for little girls, God forbid, I would never want to send them to a bathroom where they would be in danger. So it's a reason of basic safety. Whatever your beliefs may be, it's basic safety. So, well, it's very understandable. What are your concerns if you're listening right now? What are your concerns on this and other similar situations, transgender bathrooms in the school systems? Give us a call and share these concerns and get Sue Brinkman's opinion on that. Our phone lines are open, 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396. Sue, we have someone with your same namesake. Susan in Boston, Massachusetts is listening to EWTN radio through the stations of the Cross. Susan, what is your question for Sue?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to ask regarding the lesbian homosexuality subject, which, as you might know, in liberal Massachusetts is quite totally acceptable. And so if you have friends and neighbors, relatives that that what they think is fine is in fact wrong, in your opinion, specifically, what should I be telling them and what should I do? Should I not keep company with just that people that I'm not sure what to do.
It is very difficult. It's a difficult thing to do. I know people who are gay. I don't know any lesbians, but I do know gay people. In fact, when I worked at the newspaper, I used to cover their events at Courage. These were gay people who had said that they were going to live chastely. And I found them to be wonderful people. They're under a lot of fire right from within their own communities, and they kind of taught me a lot about it. They taught me to, first of all, be welcoming. The worst thing to do is to alienate them from you. You know, you're not to participate in what they do. I personally wouldn't go to their home for a party, say, if it was the home of a same-sex couple. But then I just have misgivings about doing that even for a heterosexual couple who's living together and not married. And like at Christmas time, I don't give them gifts for their house. It's individual gifts, one for each. I really I just pray about it with the Holy Spirit because I want to be loving and open with them. I want to keep my doors open, but I don't want to in any way participate or encourage what they're doing. And I look at it that way. Don't let me encourage what they're doing, but be loving with them, still be their friend. You know, still go out to the movies and have dinner, you know, whatever. But draw the line in it anywhere where you might be encouraging that behavior. And if they really want to engage you in a discussion about it, then read up on the church's position on it, because the church's position is beautiful. Yes. I don't know how anybody can argue with it.
On it, actually, yes. It doesn't sound like you should wipe the dirt of your sandals and leave.
No.
But it doesn't actually say if you should be warning them. I thought that was one of the comments at the very top of the show about what you should be saying. I think it was right before you were talking about Archbishop Myers.
Right. Well, you know what? Now I always make it a point to do that for couples who are living together, to make it a point to say that they shouldn't be doing that. It is against the teachings of the Catholic Church, and I am a Catholic. I only say it once.
Oh, okay.
I don't keep carping on it. I say it one time. Because I at one point I discussed this with a priest, and he said, Sue, you're probably the only person who has ever said it, and they will never forget it. Because no one else is telling them they're wrong. Everybody else is telling them that it's okay. The laws are telling them that it's okay.
Yeah.
But I make that perfectly clear right in the beginning, and then that's it. I don't say it again. And there's certain things that like I said, I simply do not do. They don't get a house gift. They get individual gifts at Christmas or whatever. I don't attend things at their house. I don't attend functions there.
Okay, great. So you love the person, you just don't love the
actions
or something. Yeah.
And I don't do anything to support those actions, but I really submit it to the Holy Spirit, and I ask him when an occasion would come up, what should I do about this, Lord?
Okay.
What should I do about it? And I just try to follow what I believe he's telling me to do. And it's always something that's loving.
Okay.
I hope that helps you. It is difficult.
Of course.
It's
Thank
very
you.
difficult. And it's not going to get any easier.
No, I expect it's not. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for all you do on the show. And
thank you.
Give my regards to Johnnette when she's back.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll tell her.
Very good.
Thank you, Susan, as well, for your concern and for wanting to find a solution to the problems around you. We really appreciate that. We'll give your best love to Johnnette when she returns. This is Women of Grace on EWTN Radio, 29 minutes past the hour. We will continue to speak about the news stories of the week with our guest, Sue Brinkman, here, our researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com. And with you, our lines are open, 1-800-585 9396 is the number. That number is 1-800-585-9396. This is a good time to call. Our lines are lighting up, and we will continue to discuss the news stories of the week, your concerns as well, and Sue Brinkman's area of expertise like Reiki, the occult, and learning to discern about the New Age. Stay tuned for more.
I'm Raymond Arroyo with Mother Angelica, A Remarkable Life. When she was here at Sancta Clara, at this monastery in Canton, Ohio, Sister Angelica had a nickname in the cloister. It was Miss Fix-It. She was the person they turned to whenever the appliances went on the fritz, or in one instance, the leaky basement began to flood. Mother Angelica was called in to fix it. She assembled a crew of fellows from the old neighborhood, became foreman of the project, and it would be the first of many projects this nun would preside over throughout her life. Stay with EWTN as we continue to celebrate the life and legacy of Mother Angelica.
So, what are you afraid of? Some people are so afraid of the pain they never face their own wounds. So afraid of death they never live. So afraid of being hurt they never form friendships. So afraid of failure they never take risks. Fear stops us from living. St. Paul had reasons to be afraid. From 2 Corinthians, he said, 3 times I was beaten with rods, once I was pelted with stones, 3 times shipwrecked. I spent a night and day on open sea. I've been in danger from rivers, bandits, my own countrymen, the Gentiles. But he also wrote, who will separate us from the love of Christ? Trouble or hardships or persecution or famine or nakedness or danger or the sword? No. In all these we are more than conquerors because of him who loved us. What are you afraid of? Our lives are fragile. So fragile it's scary. If we look to ourselves for security, maybe we should be scared. So maybe we shouldn't do that. Trust him. Be more than a conqueror. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
Real men listen to Women of Grace.
32 minutes past the hour. Real men and real women listen to Women of Grace. This is Elena Rodriguez. Thanking you for tuning in to EWTN Radio's Women of Grace. I'm sitting in for Johnnette Benkovic today, who's away and traveling. And I ask for your prayers for her and her safety, for the safety of her family. They are partially in the way of Tropical Storm Hermine, which is in the Gulf Coast, churning around and strengthening probably to a Hurricane 1 category before it makes landfall. So please keep the people of all those states that are affected in the storm's path in your prayers, and that would be Florida and Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina, all the way up to the northeastern states as well later on in a few days when the storm gets there. In any case, we keep them in our prayers. We also keep in our prayers the state of Louisiana in recovering from the very damaging and devastating floods that they suffered. And we encourage one another, as we always do here on Women of Grace. Our Sue Brinkman, our very firm and friendly Women of Grace journalist, is with us today. She is our guest expert on this hour. You are welcome to call in and chat with her. The number is 1-800-585-9396. That number is 1-800-585-9396. Sue, we have Catherine listening in New Jersey to EWTN Radio through Domestic Church Media. Catherine, what is your question for Sue Brinkman? Welcome.
Hi. Well, I am a religious education teacher, and what's going on is there's a girl in our program who's been going up in the grades, so the teachers talk amongst themselves. She's the daughter of a same-sex lesbian couple, and I was wondering how best to address that sort of situation in the classroom, especially because, we talk about the sacrament of marriage and all that, and I was wondering how best to just address her in a loving way and an accepting way, but still be firm on the church's teaching.
Well, you have to teach what the church teaches. There's no compromise on that. Now, I'm not sure if what kind of a policy you might have in place. I know that out in Colorado there was a big to-do about this a couple years ago. And they, of course, didn't soften their stance, but I'm sure that they worked with the schools for how to deal with this in an effective way, such as, maybe instructing the parents, letting the parents know this is what they're going to be taught in that class, and letting them know ahead of time that that's what's going to be taught in the class. The children need to know that this is the teaching of the Catholic Church, this is what we believe in, this is why we believe it, so that these girls, this child who is the child of same-sex parents, can have an opportunity at some point in her life to make a fully informed decision about where she wants to go in her life and how she wants to live her life. So you're actually giving her information that she needs in order for her, as I said, to make a fully informed decision about which way to go with her own sexuality when she comes of age. What are the ages that you're talking about here?
4th grade.
4th grade. Okay, so she's still pretty young yet. But I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be teaching it for the sake of all the other children in the class. You can't change that teaching for one person.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You may want to have to work something out with parents. I'm not sure what, though. I would definitely go to the school administrator and find out, is there a policy in place? Because you're in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there could even be a policy in place about this, because I know that when the Colorado case came up a few years ago, I know it sparked a lot of dialogue and a lot of discussion in schools across the country. So you might want to even check with your school's administration, what's the policy on this? And is there a policy on it? There may not be. But I would say let the child be taught what we teach and why. Most importantly, why. Because that's what never gets out there. The mainstream media always censors that out. They never say why we teach what it is. They just teach what we teach, and then they present us to be the gargoyles, and the heartless beasts. That's how we're presented by the media, rather than telling them the truth about what we teach and why we teach it. So
well, I love what the Catechism has to say about it, too. How everyone is called to sainthood, and people of that persuasion are just called to chastity and that sort of thing. And marriage is really about the two becoming one flesh, and part of that is procreation. Would you say that's a good mode of speaking or?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely would think that. That's the teaching of the Church. Like you said, it's very beautiful.
Yes.
And if this student has questions about it, maybe this is what could get disruptive. What if she raises her hand in the middle of class and say, well, what about, me, and da-da-da-da-da? Then the teacher's going to be on the spot. I would definitely prepare for what to say should that happen. But you've got to stand true to the teaching of the Church and to Jesus Christ. And do that. And you know what? If you submit yourself to the Holy Spirit in that situation, He'll guide you in a way that is so loving that you'll shock yourself. You'll think, how did I ever come up with that? He will. The Lord never fails. Ask for the grace to be able to handle a situation like that, should it arise. Mm-hmm. And it probably will as she gets older. I don't know about 4th grade, but it's probably going to come up at some point as she gets older.
All right. Well, thank you. Pray for me.
I will
count on it, Catherine.
For you.
Yes. Thank you very much for calling with your concern, and that's what we are here for on Women of Grace. 38 minutes past the hour. We still have a line for you to chime in, 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396. And as we continue to pray for our previous listener, Catherine, we go to Troy, who's in Terre Haute, Indiana, listening to EWTN Radio. Troy, your question for Sue Brinkman, please.
I actually didn't have a question. I just had a comment on the public bathroom situation.
Please go ahead, Troy.
I think you guys are living in a fantasy world if you think banning men from a women's restroom is going to keep your children safe. Children should not be able to go into any restroom that has more than one stall or urinal without supervision, because you don't know who's going to be in there. And there's female perverts just as much as there are male perverts. So you just need to always supervise your children no matter what.
Yeah, young children, but what about women over the age of 18 who have been attacked by, numerous predators, very few transsexuals, I might add, but predators, male predators, attacking women. I mean, it's not like this is unheard of. This happens all the time.
Even if you ban men from going into the women's restroom, that doesn't mean they're not going to go in there. If they want to do that, they're going to do it whether they're allowed to go in there or not.
Well, but it's going to be a lot easier if they have a policy that allows them.
It's a safety thing. You always need to be aware of your surroundings.
That is very true. That is very true. You do need to do that. And I do agree that children in a multi-stall bathroom should be accompanied by an adult. I think that's very true. You don't send a 4-year-old into a bathroom by herself or himself. You really should be with the child. But I think that in the case of older women, and even older teens that are in dressing rooms, these are the ones that seem to be the most prevalent assaults really occur in teenage girls and young women. That's really where the assaults are happening. And they're happening in locker rooms, they're happening in dressing rooms, excuse me, they're happening in bathrooms. So this is something that happens. This isn't a fantasy world. It's not a fantasy world at all. This is reality.
And I mean, these are ones where men are allowed. They're happening no matter what.
No, they're happening, especially some of these predators have said, you can't arrest me for this because the laws have changed and I'm allowed to do this now. That's actually been said in cases. So, yeah, it's putting ideas in people's heads. Look at it that way. You're obviously saying to them, hey, you know what? You can go into Target and you can go into the fitting room and take out your cell phone and you can use it to peer into fitting rooms and take pictures of girls. You're still putting those thoughts into their heads. Like, how do you protect against that? How do you protect against that?
Into their head?
Well, you're instigating it by saying, okay, you're allowed in there. You're allowed to go into this restroom.
That's just funny. Just because you tell someone they can go somewhere, that doesn't tell them, well, you can be deviant here. I mean, it's ludicrous.
Well, I don't think so. But then I'm speaking as a woman, and I've done quite a bit of research into this, and I can see that there are a plethora of cases out there of this going on, and they have increased in recent years since these laws have been changing. They've been changing quietly, by the way. It didn't start with Target. It's been going on. They've been quietly changing these rules, and it definitely has been going on.
Thank you very much, Troy. Yes, go ahead. Finish up, Sue, please.
I think that's a legitimate concern.
It is. It is a very legitimate concern, and we don't want to make it easier for situations to happen when they are inappropriate. We do need to protect everybody at all ages. Thank you very much, Troy. We go to Maureen in Clarksburg, Maryland, listening to EWTN radio here on Women of Grace. Maureen, your question for Sue Brickman, please.
Hi, I'm a mother of a 30-something. Also, this cohabitation conversation spoke to me to fall in. I have a 32-year-old daughter living with her 35-year-old fiancé, and I'm the lone wolf Catholic in the situation. They're both Catholics, but nobody seems to be concerned by the fact that they're cohabitating other than me, which I've expressed to my daughter numerous times, but they've bought a house together, and I don't see anything changing there. I've spoken to my pastor about it with a heavy heart, and had to tell my daughter the day of wedding gown shopping that, I would not be able to go to a wedding that wasn't in a church, which caused a huge upset. But she got the message, and they have sought out a priest. So I'm kind of at the point now, after a year or so of this, of saying, they've gotten to the priest, and the priest needs to counsel them. I asked her if she told the priest that they were living together. She said yes. I said, what did he say? She said, nothing really. And so my heart tells me, based on the Pope's recent encyclical about irregular situations, that I'm in the midst of this in my life. And to compound it, my 95-year-old mother lives with me, and she knows they're cohabitating, and she is of the mindset that, I should not be supporting this at all. The family shouldn't be going to the wedding at all. And it's just very stressful to navigate. And I'm just looking for some guidance other than what I'm going to get from the Holy Spirit.
And what did your pastor say when you talked to him?
He told me to take a very long view of the situation, that, over half the weddings that he performs now are from people who got married outside the church, who have now come to him and want to get married in the church. Because initially my daughter wanted to get married outside. So we had that whole conversation of why you can't get married outside. Obviously, my daughter is not a practicing, in-touch Catholic. She does what she does to appease me to some extent, although she'll say, we're going to get better at going to church. And I think when they do have children, this is going to be something they'll carry on. But they're just very weak right now.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like I've looked at, okay, they'll either, I've even said to her at one point, maybe you shouldn't get married in the church. You should go talk to a priest. Maybe the priest is going to say, you shouldn't get married in the church. So my pastor said take a long view, of course, pray, that, only the Holy Spirit converts the heart. He realizes it's been difficult for me and that I have stood up for the faith and spoke the truth to her,
You have, and I know in my own family this goes on all the time. This is just the way it's done now. Everyone just lives together. Very rarely do you ever hear of people saying, no, we're waiting till we get married to move in together. Very, very rarely anymore. And I did work, this was years ago now, but I worked in a parish. This had to be 10 years ago. And I know the pain that these priests went through with the fact that almost everybody in their pre-Cana classes were living together and how difficult it was for them to deal with that. But my priests took the view that you want to encourage them to get married in the church and return to their faith, and you need to do everything in your power to get them there. And it doesn't necessarily mean saying what you're doing is wrong. What you want to do is try to attract them to this faith and to the teaching of marriage, the true teaching of marriage. I was somebody who was away from the church, who thought the church was a total dinosaur when it came to all of these different things. And I sat down and read Humane Vitae and a couple other church documents, especially Milera Signitatum on the dignity and vocation of women, and was totally converted from reading those documents. I had no idea that the church taught what it taught because it believes women deserve love and commitment from a man. Now, you tell me one woman that you know of that doesn't agree with that. We all agree with that. If they understood the true teaching of the church, they would change on their own. And that's the tack that I would take if I was you. And I do that whenever I have the opportunity, and I don't make the opportunity happen. Whenever I have it, I drop this stuff. I just say, well, you know what? I believe that this is what I deserve to have. And thankfully, that's what my church teaches, and that's what I believe. I deserve a man who wants to commit to me for the rest of his life. Or, you know what, that is a tactic that I would try to take more often than saying to them, what you're doing is wrong, you shouldn't do this, I can't help you with that. I would kind of, if possible, I would kind of get away from that and change your tactic a little bit and try to convince her of why we teach what we teach. It's not just about a bunch of do-not-dos. There's a reason behind these teachings, and they're good, and women like me, who was at one point in my life pro-abortion, pro-birth control, I was exactly where that daughter of yours is.
Yeah.
And came all the way back. And it was because I finally opened my eyes to teaching.
Yeah. She thinks that if the church would understand that people do this now, that they would kind of get with the times. And she feels that she does have this commitment. And frankly, her fiance, I don't think, ever had lived with someone. And he said, before he took this final step, that's what they decided they wanted to do. So they are committed in their minds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they have not made that official in a way that has always been, socially the way you do it and culturally the way you do it. That final step has not been taken, and that final step needs to be taken because they can walk away from each other free and clear right now.
Right.
They can walk away.
Right.
She's kidding herself if she thinks that can't happen. He can't decide. He may decide, hey, forget it. I don't want to do this now. I'm getting cold feet. I'm out of here. He can do that. She's stuck with who's going to settle the house? If they have children, who's going to take over with the children? It's a total mess. It's a mess that we women get ourselves involved in, and I blame myself. I'm not talking down to her. We bring it on ourselves.
Yeah.
This naive idea, and her saying that, wish they'd get up with the times. That tells me right there she doesn't have a clue about what this church teaches and why it teaches what it does. Because love and commitment doesn't have a time barrier. It transcends centuries. It's always been that way. Women have always wanted to be loved for who they are, and not used.
And she lives with. Her father and I are divorced. I'm a remarried Catholic and had a mixed marriage the first time around. So I think there's some stuff there too.
Yeah, well, you know what? This could be a way for healing for everybody, for the whole family, but it's going to take time. It's going to take patience. On your part, I would do whatever I could to read up on these teachings, especially on those that regard women, which would be Mulieris Dignitatem. Trust me, it's very understandable. And also Humani Vitae. Read that. That's an extremely powerful document. And if you really sit down and read this stuff and you understand why the church teaches what to do, that's your arms. Those are your weapons, so to speak. And you watch and see how many opportunities you'll be given to begin to teach her.
And Maureen, please count on our prayers as well. Thank you so much for your concern and protecting the integrity of your family. We go to Sharon, who is in Houston, Texas, listening to EWTN Radio through the Guadalupe Radio Network. Sharon, we only have 3 minutes left, so we want to make sure to get you in. Go right ahead with your question, please.
Yes, I want to find out, should I be staying the night with my daughter and her companion? She is not a practicing Catholic. I have been more involved in the Catholic Church, this last 6 months because I'm retired now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm struggling. I'm praying hard. In fact, I don't know what to pray for, but how should I handle this spending the night at their house?
Yeah, see, if it was me, I wouldn't spend the night there.
And do I say what you said? It's my belief, my Catholic belief.
Yeah, and this is what my church teaches about this situation, and I really believe it to be true. And I think that would be better for me if I didn't stay there. But I wanted to tell you that because I just wanted to give you an opportunity to see what it is, why I'm doing what I'm doing, so that you don't get the impression that I'm somehow, trying to alienate myself from you or telling you that you're, some evil thing, which I'm not trying to do. It's just that we don't see eye to eye on this right now, and this is why. This is what my church teaches. If you get the opportunity to get that in there, I would get it in there. I'm pretty fastidious about that. I don't want to do anything that encourages that makes it look like it's okay for them to be cohabiting, because it's not. It's not okay for them either. Statistics are not great as far as, how many cohabitating couples actually make it to marriage. It's even worse when there's children involved. In fact, that's one of the most difficult situations for children, is cohabiting parents with kids. They were considered to be very fragile family situations. So that's just my thought. You have to do what you feel is best. If you have a priest that you can really talk to about it, you might want to sit down with him and see what he has to say. I always encourage that when it's a difficult decision like this. Never try to discern things on your own. Always reach out to other people and get their opinions, and then sit down and make a decision for yourself. That's what I would do.
Thank you very much, Sharon. We keep you in prayers, as well as our previous listeners, Maureen and Catherine. And Sue Brinkman, thank you very much for sharing your insights during the whole hour with us here on Women of Grace.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We look forward to the next chance we can have you on the air. Women of Grace tomorrow will have a very special show, a very special two-part series on the value and dignity of human work. What do you think about your job, about your work? Tune in tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern for Johnnette Benkovic with guest Father Wade Menezes. And coming up next, Debbie and Jerry will be talking about healthcare in the United States. Thanks to Matt Gabinski, our call screener. This is Elena Rodriguez wishing you a very blessed day. Stay in prayer and tune in to more of EWTN Radio.